On everybody. Um, this is kind of weird. It has been a long time since I've been able to say this, but welcome everybody to the Coaches Challenge podcast. This is episode 15. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of struggled with what I was gonna name the number of the podcast because I didn't know if I wanted to name it 15 or start back over since I think the last episode we recorded was back in September. I think, but hey, we're just gonna keep it going. We're gonna act like we didn't take a 6 7 month break away from the podcast for the second time. I think the third time actually, because technically we recorded our first podcast in 2019. But getting all of that other shit out the way, I'm your host Darrell Dunham, along with co-host Jordan Jackson, as you see on the screen here. This podcast being live streamed on Twitch. Also will be uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast that Anchor will upload the podcast to, either in audio format on there or on video format on YouTube and here on Twitch. The VOD will be uploaded for this here. But today, to get all of that other shit out the way, because I don't feel like talking about that right now, the MLB season starts tomorrow. The Masters starts tomorrow. There's a lot going on in sports. We're gonna talk about MLB today. We might get to the Masters at the end, but we're talking about the MLB 2022 season predictions. Y'all see I just knocked something down. Y'all see the ticker at the bottom that yours truly set up at the last minute. But yeah. What's up? What's up, Pops? I did not know that was your username right there. I forgot you had a Twitch. We were just talking about it earlier. But
How's it going, Mr. Dunham?
also we'll be answering any questions that people have in the chat. Y'all won't see it on screen on the video, and because the way I got the camera set up, and I have to do the overlay different the next time I do this. But if y'all listening to this on audio format, y'all won't even care about what I'm saying. But any questions that y'all have in the chat, ask them in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, ask in the comments any questions, and the next time we do a podcast, we might do a segment where we answer some questions from the previous podcast. If there's anything that aged terribly, comment about it. We'll talk about it in the next episode or whenever we have to talk about it. I'll keep track of all the comments as long as we don't, if this, I'm not, not trying to whatever, but if the podcast blows up and there's some comment from like 30 episodes ago, I'm not going to fucking remember it. But either way, we're here to talk about, let's get back on topic. We're here to talk about the 2022 MLB season. Just predictions, projected award winners, projected division winners, teams that may surprise us this season, teams that are bound to or that we think are bound to disappoint us, and who had the best offseason. And we're also going to talk about the Braves repeating or their chances to repeat this season. And that's what we're going to start off with. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. You're not going to hear much talking from me. I'm a big MLB guy, but after like the day after free agency came back, I lost track of like 90% of what happened. But I do have somebody who was very, very well versed in baseball here in JJ. This is why I brought him along. I know we're missing somebody right now, but I'm going to be honest. I talked to JJ about this a couple of days ago. I forgot to ask Ben, and I know Ben says he's not really, following baseball like that, but we will get Ben on the podcast at some point. Note I should have asked him, but it is what it is. But I get started on the Braves. The Braves won the 2021 World Series back in October. Or was that the end of October, early September? Either way, they won the Fall Classic, won the World Series. 4-2 against the Houston Astros. Yeah, 4-2 against the Houston Astros. Topped off by that Jorge Soler monster, was it 3-run home run. Yes, and then Freddie Freeman. No, and then somebody who, with Braves fans ain't too favored right now, but hit the last home run of the game. I will say Freddie Freeman was a very, even though there's a lot of, vitriol between Freddie Freeman and the Atlanta Braves or whatever, their fan base, Freddie Freeman was a key part of the team. He hit the last home run for the team last season. Very special moment, of course. They ended up losing Freddie Freeman in the offseason to the Los Angeles Dodgers. He signed a 6-year contract with the Dodgers?
Yep, 6 years, $162 million.
See, that's why we got JJ here, because I did not remember the details of that contract. But the Braves did re-up. They went out and got Jorge Soler. I mean, not Jorge Soler. They went out and got Matt Olson in a trade with the A's, who completely stripped their whole team, and apparently their payroll in this year is as much as like the payroll was for like the world, something like that back in like 1990 something. I seen some crazy like stat that I think Bob Nightingale tweeted out like a couple of weeks ago. The payroll is very low. As I said, I think it's like 32 million across their whole roster, and you have a 40-man roster in the MLB up in the majors. So you're not paying people anything. They're basically stripped that team of every bit of personality and talent that they had. But regardless, they ended up getting Matt Olson. They also go out and got some help in the relief staff. And Jay, just what I'm going to ask you to jump in right here.
Oh yeah,
I'm
sure,
not
no
remembering
problem.
everybody.
Um, so yeah, as you just mentioned there, Daryl, they bolstered what was arguably at least one of the best, if not the best, bullpen in 2021, especially towards the end of the season. Famously known as the Night Shift, featuring Will Smith and Luke Jackson, Tyler Matzik. The Braves went out and added Kirby Yates, signed a 2-year deal with the Braves with a club option for the third year. They brought in Tyler Thornburg. They brought in Colin McHugh, who's been nobly used as both a reliever and an opener during his time in Tampa Bay in particular. And I think one of the bigger signings, one of the more shocking signings of all the all season, they brought in former Dodgers closer Kenley Jansen,
Yes, yes, sir.
signed
Yes, sir.
signed Kenley to a 1-year, $16 million deal. In true Alex Anthopoulos fashion, just kind of happened out of nowhere in the middle of the night. As a matter of fact, I want to say it was the same day that Freddie Freeman had his introductory press conference with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do with that information that you will. But yeah, no, definitely they improved upon what was already a really good, really good and really deep bullpen. So right now they're projected to have Jansen in the bullpen, Matic, of course, Will Smith, Luke Jackson right now is of course hurt. There's a chance that he can get Tommy John surgery, may miss the season, but even still, though, as much as his presence will be missed, that just goes to show you how important it is to have a deep bullpen because you'll still have guys like Colin McHugh, Kirby Yates when he comes back will be pitching in the bullpen. Tyler Thornburg's gonna be in the bullpen. I mean, they just have it's loaded with talent.
Hmm. And then a signing that I think has gone under the radar was Alex Dickerson. Now I know
Yes.
he was not good last season, but Rosario was not having a
True.
good year. You know, Soler not having a good year. Comes to the Braves. You know,
Yeah.
two of them
World
have
Series postseason
very
winner
big.
hero.
Yep, very big postseasons for the Braves. So I wanted to ask you, JJ, just from a completely, let's be honest here, it's impossible to be objective here. I'm wearing the Braves hat, you're wearing the Braves hoodie.
What?
You
No.
know, so let's be honest here. What do you think are the realistic chances for the Braves to repeat going into 2022 with everything that has happened within the NL East? Even though I'm pretty sure we're going to get to them at some point with one of the topics that we have for the podcast, but the Mets, you know, the two aces are coming into the season hurt. One of them's probably not going to pitch
Yeah.
until, you know, May,
Yeah.
if that. One of them has had issues over the last 2 years, and then they decided to go balls out during spring training and end up hurt. Then they have a lot of guys that they paid in their lineup offensively that have not produced, like Lindor.
Mhm.
So where do you think the Braves' chances lie with them winning the division again for what, the fifth
Yeah.
time in a row? And
Yeah.
then where do you think their chances lie with them repeating? Because a lot of people will say that, well, last year was a fluke run, you know, what, blah 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 blah. Even though, you know, won the NL at least 4 times in a row, eventually going to win something. But uh, do you think that, what do you think their chances are repeating realistically with not only the NL East getting better, quote unquote, but
Yeah.
the rest of the MLB improving in terms of the top teams? The Dodgers, they got better, even though I don't like that Freddie went there. Let's be honest, they got better. Um,
Yeah.
you know, teams like the Rangers, the Blue Jays,
Yeah.
the Yankees think they got better. I don't know if they really did or not, but
Oh, they're
you
on
know.
my list of topics for tonight.
but what do you think? What do you think that the Braves' chances are to repeat and go
Yeah,
back to the World Series next year and win it?
definitely. So, you know, I think it's important that we start off with what you mentioned there. Start off with winning the division. That I listen to a lot of Braves announcers, beat writers, and podcasts and stuff like that. And when I was listening to just a couple of days ago, they asked about the mentality. They asked Brian Snicker about the mentality in the clubhouse. If there's sort of like a championship hangover, or is there any sort of change in behavior? Do they kind of have that little extra swag or whatnot? And Snicker just relayed the message that they still all have that same focus, that they go in, do their work, and the first goal is to win the division. That's the most straight. Of course, in baseball, that's the most straightforward path to get in the playoffs is winning your division. You're automatically guaranteed a playoff berth. And as you point out, the Mets, on paper got better. They're still dealing with some issues though, with DeGrom and Scherzer being hurt, and we haven't seen those pieces in the lineup with Marte and Mark Canada, guys like that actually pan out. The Phillies definitely have a really solid lineup, but there's no doubting that. But there's still questions, in my opinion, on their rotation outside of Wheeler and Aaron Nola. There's still questions in their bullpen. And defensively, we're gonna have to see how they play. Um, the Nationals are in a rebuild, so I'm not really too worried about them necessarily. The Marlins, I think, are one. They actually have them on my list of things to talk about too, as well. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're a very interesting team. They're loaded with young talent, but I still like the Braves' chances of repeating in the division this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is going to be tougher than it was last year. I think what we're going to see the NL East be this year, in theory, is what people thought it was going to be, myself included, what people thought it was going to be last year. And did not end up being that way. But yeah, it's going to be a lot different. But I think the Braves, or it's going to be a lot tougher. But I think the Braves are truly not just one of the most complete teams in the NL East, but I think they're one of the most complete teams in baseball. And so that moves me towards their chances of repeating the World Series. I know it hasn't been done since the 2000 Yankees capped off their 3 straight World Series championships. But I, I mean, honestly, Darrell, I know I'm gonna have some bias in this, but just truly from a general baseball standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
I think the Braves have a really strong shot of repeating as World Series champions this year. Because I mean, you look at, we talked about the additions already to the bullpen. We talked about them trading for Matt Olson, which lengthens their lineup, and we still haven't even talked about them getting Ron Acuna Jr. back
Getting him
and a
back, getting
legit
Soler back.
MVP candidate. Exactly.
Yeah,
You bring in Rosario, you have Duvall.
not Soler.
Um,
Ozuna.
Eddie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ozuna's going to be back in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the DH coming to the National League definitely helps the Braves out because it just lengthens their lineup a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, their pitching, I mean, they have one of the best top three rotation of arms in all of baseball, with Max Fried leading the way, Charlie Morton, and Ian Anderson. Behind them, I know there are a couple of questions, but you have a bunch of talented young guys who are going to, get their shot, who had some big moments in the postseason last year, namely like Kyle Wright, Tucker Davidson, guys of that nature. I mean, the bullpen is just, I think they had the best bullpen in baseball, if I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know we all, it's a whole 162 game marathon. Things happen, injuries happen, unpredictability happens. It's just the state of the game. But if this team can stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
I really do think that they have a strong chance to repeat as World Series champions. Because as I look around the league right now, there are a lot of good teams there are, but I still think that in my mind, the Dodgers and the Braves are the two best teams in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still say right now, I put my money on the Braves to beat the Dodgers, which would put the Braves, in my opinion, above them. And I like their chances of repeating.
I think something else that some people don't think about is that the Braves have Alex Anthopoulos.
Yes.
For all the slander that this man has gotten from Braves fans over the last 5 years, first of all, they've won 4 straight division titles, and two, the Braves were floundering midway through the
Mm-hmm.
season at the trade deadline. These dudes were just out of a wild card spot. They had no chance to make the playoffs,
Yeah.
and then going and getting Rosario, getting Soler,
Mm-hmm.
um, that Rodriguez pickup. We don't forget about that. But
Oh, Rich.
but getting Jock Peterson, all of those things led to the Braves winning a championship. All three of those players had a direct impact. Those 3 players that I called out had a direct impact on the Braves winning the championship. And at the time,
Yep.
a lot of people had issues with the moves because these guys weren't playing well coming into Atlanta. But let's think about it. Rosario is has historically been a good hitter throughout his career. Soler is a
Yeah,
power hitter. Jock Peterson is a power hitter. You're playing in a hitters friendly park. He made the moves that
yeah,
he had to make, to win a championship. And with this pitching staff, I'll say this: for them to be as good as they are in a park like Truist, that is
yeah.
relatively small, it gives me a lot of confidence in them. Plus, for all the smoke I got for have I've had in the past for Snit, he's one of the best managers in the game. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, to take a team that was at one point in the season below 500 well into the season, and then to bring them back into being a playoff contender without arguably their best player,
Hmm.
and then winning the World Series without said player
Yeah.
is insane. There's
Hmm.
not too many managers in the MLB that can say that they've done that or could do that.
True.
Imagine if the Dodgers lost Mookie.
Right.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know if I can say that or not. Actually, I'm not. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that for definite. I know this podcast is a history of saying wild things like, Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge signing to the Nets are going to make them a championship contender. But um, yeah, love you, Ben. But that was crazy. Anyway,
Oh,
just for the both of them to not be in the lineup anymore. But anyway, um, I guess moving on from the Braves, since we've already talked about them enough, and I don't want to take up too much time. We've already said that they're going to win the NL East. The both of us think they're going to win the NL East. Let's talk about the projected division winners.
okay.
I think
Into it.
that's a perfect transition since we've already talked about the NL East. Let's get to the let's get to the NL Central. Who
All
do you
right.
think is going to come out on top there? We'll go in
Um,
order.
to me, this one was kind of a little bit of a straightforward one for me. I think the Brewers are going to repeat. The Brewers still have one of the better rotations in baseball, in my opinion. They got Corbin Burns, reigning Cy Young winner from last year. They've got Freddie Peralta is going to be there as well. Geez, there's one more person that I'm missing. I just can't think of their name, but one of the better rotations in baseball. I think what's going to help them out what they need this year, not just to win the division eas- easily or pretty securely, but to
Mm-hmm.
also make a deep postseason run. This race I blame Kyrie. Um, but they're going to need a bounce back year from Christian Yelich. We saw
Mm-hmm.
him struggle last season, and if he gets back to, I'm not saying he has to play as an MVP caliber form, but any shade of his former self that I think is going to help them, win the division and go a little bit deeper in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
The Pirates, or yeah, they're not doing nothing really.
What about
The
St.
Card,
I'm
yeah,
I
the
want to say St.
Cardinals,
Louis, man.
the Cardinals are sneaky because I mean they got Goldschmidt. They've got Arenado.
They
Tyler
got
O'Neill is real
Dickerson.
good. They got Dickerson. I think the biggest thing for me with St. Louis is just their
Mm-hmm.
rotation. I'm a little concerned when Adam Wainwright, at what almost 40 years old, is
Yeah,
taking
but
up one of
he's
the top.
I get it, but he's still like elite, and so
He is.
I get it because there at any point that drop off could come, being at that
Hmm.
age. But at the same time, I'm cautious to say that because there's been no. Well, he's had a couple of bad years. I don't know if he's changed up anything with his approach. I have not been watching the car. I can't stand the Cardinals. So full
Me
disclosure,
neither.
but
Still haven't
he's
gotten over 20. What was it, 2016,
yeah.
2019, whatever it was. Yeah.
But there's been an adjustment in his game
Hmm.
that has brought him back to, I won't say the pitcher that he was, back in his, mid 20s, but he's
Yes.
definitely dominant again, or he has been the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know if that can continue because one of those seasons was shortened. Last year he did pitch a full season, but it does help that you didn't play a full season the year before at 39 and now being 40. I get
Yeah.
your concern there, but if he is what he was last year, I don't, man, the Brewers are one of those teams where I know they're good,
Hmm.
but they have so many people that are like boom or bust. Which, and I guess the Cardinals pitching rotation is the same way. And at the end of the day, if you had a bad rotation, or if you have a rotation you're not confident in,
I I still think that's a fair criticism though,
mm,
Milwaukee. You're definitely right. I mean, they are a lot of, like you said, boomer bust guys, especially in their lineup. I mean, that was their biggest concern going into that division series against the Braves last year was You knew their pitching was good. It was just a
Hmm.
question of if they were going to be able to hit enough, and they did not hit
They did
enough.
not.
And the Braves out hit them significantly. I mean, they won the
Mhm.
first game of the series like what 2-1 if I remember correctly. It was a
Yep.
low scoring affair there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just their pitching's not really concerned. Their bullpen is good with Josh Hader, Devin Williams anchoring the back end of it. But that
Mhm.
offense really is very questionable.
Wait,
Honest,
aren't they without Omar Navarez? Was he one of the ones that
yes,
got popped for
he
steroids?
got popped for steroids. That is true. Yeah, you are correct. They lost Abisayo Garcia to the Marlins too.
Mm.
So, I mean, you have the concerns you bring up are very legitimate. They're very legitimate. I think the Brewers may benefit from the fact that only them, in my opinion, only them and the Cardinals. Let me think about this statement before I say it.
Well, I
Pirates,
mean,
no.
look,
Cubs,
Chicago
not
and
really.
Cincinnati are not.
Yeah, Cincinnati, no. So yeah, the, the Cardinals and them are the only other two teams
Yeah.
that are really truly competing. So
Mm.
it's some questions.
I I gotta say the Cardinals. I'm gonna have to. I know
Oh,
Chris said that his pick for the World Series is the Cardinals and the Blue Jays. I don't necessarily agree with that one, but
interesting.
I do think that the Cardinals are going to win that division. The Brewers are too. They're too streaky, and the guys that they're missing slash lost. Like you said, their pitching is going to be great, but I don't know about that offense. To be honest, if
That's fair.
Yelich can return back to even close to his MVP self, then he helps them out a lot. I'm not saying he's just going to fix everything in that lineup, but I don't know what Yelich is at this point. I think that might have been a flash in the pan situation there, man.
It's definitely looking like it right now. And even further to your point about the Cardinals,
Mm.
let's not forget that they went on like what an 18 game winning streak
Yeah,
last
and then
year
fired the
towards the end of the
manager.
season.
But
Yeah, that
that's another thing. I don't know about. I don't know about that one. I don't know how the
yeah.
players are feeling about that, but yeah, I think I got the Cardinals winning the NL Central.
Okay.
Something is just telling me to pick them over Milwaukee. I don't know what it is, but uh, moving on to the division of death, the NL West. Um, yeah, you had two, not only 100 win teams, but these are 105 plus win teams in the same division. They ended up meeting up in the playoffs. The San Francisco did the Giants and the Dodgers meet up in the playoffs last year?
They did.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we got San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Colorado, and Arizona. Five teams that I don't think Arizona did enough to position themselves as a potential playoff team in the
I
offseason.
agree with that. Yeah.
Colorado is iffy. They're always iffy though. I think they're probably going to be around a 500 team, not enough to be a playoff team. So between San Diego, well, Tatis isn't going to be healthy to start the season. It's going to hurt a lot.
Oh, San
Um,
Diego, I think y'all are on my list too. Yep, they are.
but so it's basically between the Dodgers and San Francisco again. I think both of those teams did a lot in the offseason to keep themselves and preserve themselves as top teams in the MLB. They're two of the top five best teams in the MLB right now in terms of. I don't even know with the Giants if it's roster construction or just Gabe Kepler's done such a great job as the manager for them, and I just they're just
Yeah, he
so
sure has, hasn't he, Philadelphia?
yeah. But everybody is everybody does their job for the Giants.
Yes.
I'm taking a phrase away from the bitch ass Patriots, but everybody does their job. You know what I mean? Do your job.
Do your job.
Great pitching staff.
Hmm.
I got the Dodgers winning just because it's the Dodgers, and they should win the division, or at least be in contention with all the money that they spend every year.
Hmm.
I have a couple of questions about the Dodgers rotation and the health of some of those guys. Even though they have one of the best farm systems in the fucking MLB, so like they have guys in the minors that are fucking league ready. They just
Hmm.
come into the league and just adjust right away. So unlike the Dodgers, I have to give them credit for the team building and even they're not that mom and pop bullshit. But internally when they get young guys, they do a great job of progressing them along and getting them ready for the majors.
Yeah.
So I even with all of those concerns I have for the Dodgers and all the holes I think they have after losing Scherzer and Kershaw's 38. He's starting to fall off a little bit. You don't know if Bauer's coming back or if they even want him back. Isn't May hurt to start the season?
Yeah, he's still recovering from Tommy John. He missed all of last year.
So,
I'm not sure if he's even going to pitch this year or not. If he
mm,
does, I expect it'll probably be a couple months into the season.
so Dustin May's probably not coming back anytime soon. They lost Joe
Right.
Kelly in the offseason, who was probably the best reliever outside of Kenley Jansen, who's now a Brave. They did bring in I see his face. I know his pitching motion. He played for the Braves and it's pissing me off because I'm forgetting his name. No. Kimbrel. They brought in Kimbrel.
Oh yeah.
Who has been good, but high leverage situations has not been the pitcher he was in Atlanta. He wasn't even the full-time closer last year. It was between him and Liam Hendricks in Chicago last year. So it's funny what I remember from baseball and what I forget from baseball. It's so interesting. But anyway, I have to go Dodgers. With all of that being said, they have one of the best lineups in baseball. Pitching staff wise, if they can stay healthy, they have one of the best pitching staffs. I know that the Giants won the division last year. They ended up losing their playoff series. It is what it is. But something about the Giants tells me that there's a little bit of room for regression there. Not severely. I still think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're winning 107 games this year. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I too had the Dodgers win this division this year. I mean, like you said, their lineup is just absolutely loaded of guys who are just homegrown talent. But anyway, the lineup is deep. They bring back Chris Taylor, which I think was probably a underrated but necessary signing, especially once they lost Corey Seager. As irritating as he is, Chris Taylor is one of the better versatile players in baseball. Yeah, their rotation. I mean, it's anchored by Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, and especially with question marks to, like you said, Clayton Kershaw's health and his age. Tony Gonsolin not really too proven. Andrew Haney is shaky at best, but I think a lot of this is going to be dependent upon how will Dave Roberts manage. With me, the Dodgers is kind of like you look ahead to not just you expect them to be in the postseason, barring anything major happening. So I think their chances this year are going to definitely be on how will Dave Roberts learn from his mistakes from last year? Because I mean, I feel like the Braves outplayed the Dodgers in that series, but they're also
outmanaged them, bro. Like
exactly
his bullpen management, his pitching staff management in general. Using a 38-year-old, I don't give a damn how good Max Scherzer is. The dude is older. This dude is miles on him, and you're using this dude like he's 21. Like it's not a good idea.
No. But yeah, definitely has to be the Dodgers for me here. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Giants, I think, a little bit later on, because I have them in another segment that we're going to cover. But yeah, definitely going to go with the Dodgers for this year.
One thing I do want to say about the Dodgers, what's going to be very interesting, is their newest splash free agent signing in Freddie Freeman. Now, as if you're a Braves fan, over the last 2 seasons, Freddie Freeman has started off the year slow. Full seasons. Because in 2020, he was good the whole year. But in 2019 and in 2021, Freddie Freeman started off the season slow. And last year, it took him forever to get into a rhythm. Hell, even in the playoffs, he wasn't that good up until the Astros series. I'm interested because Braves fans always gave him a lot of leeway, whether it was on social media or in the stadium. Nobody ever booed Freddie Freeman. You would get slapped in your face if you did that out in public, or get ran off of Braves Twitter if you tried to do that. He's in a situation where Dodgers fans do not give a damn if you just won them a World Series. Hell, I seen them slandering Mookie last year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Which Mookie is
they're flipping birds to Kenley Jansen. I've seen videos of him coming out the bullpen. Like, bro, it's a ruthless fan base.
But I mean, we've seen this from the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Raiders, the Rams. Well, they won this year, but them LA fans are spoiled as fuck. They won a lot of championships over time and recently even.
Yeah.
And you see the way they turned on LeBron and AD like
Yeah.
like that. So um I'm interested to see how he performs this year, and if he gets off to a slow start, how he's going to deal with that pressure of LA. Because first of all, now it's not a thing of you know, you know, I'm not trying to get cons- conspiratory here, but uh, there's this thing with the MLB, the Twitter page and social media. The media don't really talk about the Braves that much until playoff time or till it's time to make a joke about an Atlanta team choking. You don't get that luxury. You on TV every night. You on the Summer Jam screen every night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I'm interested to see how he's going to respond to that pressure. I'm not saying he can't do it. Freddie Freeman has been in the league for a decade. He has dominated the league for almost a decade. MVP. He's been in the spotlight. Played in the World Series. He's played in the NLCS before, twice. But I'm just interested to see how all that goes down. I'm not gonna say if he can handle it or not. I'm just saying it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely.
But he gets to go. The way I look at it, besides all the contract shit, you got the chance to go home, join a contending team, get paid. Could have got paid more with the Braves. You would have took the contract. But hey, you know what? You want to go back home. If you would have just said that from the jump, then fine. You want to go back home. LA was always a destination. I always thought it was between the Angels and the Dodgers if he didn't go back to Atlanta. Dodgers are obviously the better situation. So you know what? Hey, go for him. That's all I'll say. But JJ,
Yo.
you know what? I'm not even. Let's move on to the AL East. I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm just gonna be straight up here. I know Toronto and Boston got better in the offseason. I'm still going with the Rays. They got Kevin Cash as their manager.
Interesting.
I'm going with the Rays winning the division. I know that a lot of people do not like Kevin Cash because of what he did with Blake Snell in the World Series a couple of years ago. I got criticism for him too. I think the dude is way too dependent on analytics, but he does the most with, I wouldn't say the least in the league. But of all the teams that are contenders, I think they probably have the weakest roster all around, and yet they still find a way to get it done. Now that could all fall apart, and Boston was close, and Toronto has gotten better, so they do have it's tough. It's very stiff. Actually, it's between Toronto and Tampa Bay for me, and now I'm kind of stuck. Boston. It's according to how well Chris Sale is this year. Because at the end of the day, I know it's just one player, but he's their ace. And if he can stay healthy the whole year, they'll be a playoff team.
That hasn't gotten off to a good start yet.
No, it has not. Yeah. But Toronto, I don't trust their pitching. Okay. That's my main problem with them in a division where you're playing in Fenway and Yankee Stadium,
yeah,
not a good recipe. Tampa Bay. I gotta go Tampa Bay. I'm sorry, I gotta go Tampa Bay. I got to.
Okay. No, that's that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna expose myself here a little bit. So when I was doing this, when I was preparing my notes for this, I was thinking about who kind of see winning coming out of the American League, because I went who I had winning the divisions, and then I didn't know if we are gonna cover it now, but I just in case threw down who I would think would take the 2 wild card spots. For full disclosure, I had Toronto taking the first wild card spot, and I actually had Boston winning the division. I completely forgot about Tampa Bay, and I feel bad, especially now that they're showing their spring training game here on my TV screen. But but yeah, no, I think you're what you said about Tampa Bay is very true, especially the past couple of years. Even though they don't have all the quote unquote superstars, they're still an organization that, for lack of a better term, we're using this cliche here. Excuse me, they know how to win.
I mean, you look at their rotation, bro. They're like super young. Like Shane McClanahan, he's 24. What's his name? I'm blanking. Shane Baz, I think, is like 22, 23. And these dudes are pretty good to be as young as they are. Like, now, I know both of those guys just got called up, I think, last season or season before. So there's a chance that that was just one of those things where it was before hitters were able to get any, looks at him, and now that they pitched, which I think McClanahan has pitched a full season, but Baz hasn't yet. But now that people have tape on these guys, they know their tendencies, the way they like to pitch, their speeds. Maybe things change up this season, but right now, and if Corey Kluber can get back to a semblance of Cleveland Corey Kluber, then I don't see why Tampa Bay can't reclaim this division.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. As I mentioned, I've got Boston win the division for me. I like what they did in the offseason, going out and bringing in Trevor Story. I was a little confused at first because, of course, they have Xander Bogaerts playing shortstop, but then Story was like, "Hey, I'll move over to second base, and that's fine." So I mean, him being able to do that, as long as he handles the position well defensively, which I think should be fine, that just adds another solid bat to their already stacked lineup. I mean, they've got Verdugo, they've got Martinez, they've got Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, that I just mentioned. Kike Hernandez. It's Bobby Dahlbeck. I don't know. We may or may not see Tristan Cassis this year. I don't know. But it's one of the better lineups in my opinion in baseball. As you mentioned, their biggest question mark is the health of Chris Sale, which dudes just struggle with injuries for the past couple of years. It's just
I know they got Evaldi, right? But
they've got Nick Pivetta, Tanner
Houck. But I know Evaldi, he had that amazing pitching performance in the World Series a couple of years ago, and I know he is not a bad pitcher. But that dude, it's something about him. I cannot trust him for a full 162 season. I don't know. And I know he got it done last year. He was a great pitcher. But in terms of consistency, the fact that he's flip-flopped from pitcher to starter to reliever to back to starter, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know about him. Like he's one of those pitchers that he's your number. He's like your number 3 guy. Like he's not a bad pitcher, but he's never gonna be an ace, and it's gonna be rough for them to start the season because he is their ace right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like they're gonna have a rough start to the season, and I don't think the Tampa Bay is gonna get off to a slow enough start to where they can make up for everything once Sale gets back and healthy. Which we've said that like 3 years in a row now. But once he gets back and healthy, if they're gonna be able to make up enough ground, they almost did it last year. But I don't like having to depend on a guy coming back in the middle of the year, every single year.
Yeah.
And the rest of my pitching staff being kind of mid, I guess. In a division like that, I don't know, man.
I think the weird thing with Evaldi is it's like, I don't know if this is because he's used to being a reliever. I think relievers kind of, I don't want to say they have this mindset, but I think it is I think they think of it more this way than starters do. But I think with Evaldi, it's like he empties the tank a lot whenever he starts, like whenever he's like a starting pitcher. And by that I mean it's like, his main calling card is his fastball, and he can really get it up there, gas it up there by hitters. And I don't, like you said, over the course of a 162 game season, however many games you're going to start as a starting pitcher, that can only carry you so far, And I mean, eventually guys are going to time up your fastball. I mean, you hit off the fastball, but yeah, it's some questions there definitely. Also, the back end of their bullpen, Matt Barnes just did not pitch well last year as their closer. I definitely know that firsthand because he was on my fantasy baseball team and he lost his job in the middle of the season. So he'll need to rebound in order for them to solidify the back end of their bullpen. But the AL East will definitely be interesting to watch. I think it'll be pretty competitive this year.
So here's the interesting thing with all the predictions we've done.
Yeah.
All of the teams that we picked were finished either first or second in the division of the teams that they played for. The team in the first or second in their respective divisions last year. Why did I struggle to get that out? What the hell? So it's interesting because I'm getting to another division where we're probably gonna pick a team that won the division because there's literally This is where my surprise team is going to come from. The AL
Okay.
Central.
Oh, you're coming from the AL Central as a
Now,
surprise team. All right, interesting.
I'm going to say this because this division, I do not have a definitive answer.
Do it. Do
But
it, Darrell.
I'm going to say this. Watch out for the Detroit Tigers.
Yes.
I'm not saying that they're going to win the division, but I'm just saying to watch out for them. But
Yes.
between what Minnesota did in the offseason, Kansas City, they're a decent team, but I don't think they're going to win that division.
Mhm.
Detroit could potentially contend for a wild card spot. I'll go that far. Not going to say they're going to win the division. Cleveland.
They got a name change. That's about
Yeah.
it. Oh, and they extended Jose Ramirez.
So for me, it's between Minnesota, Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But with Minnesota, they have a lot of injury concerns. They just brought in Correa, which was fucking huge. Even though he might only be there for one year, which is crazy. Come to the Braves, but anyway,
right.
you got Minnesota there, and you have Chicago. I'm gonna go with Chicago just because I know they're proven. But if Byron Buxton can stay healthy, because he's not yet. I was surprised when he got that many years on that extension, but I mean he's still fucking good at baseball. Mm-hmm. But if Byron Buxton can stay healthy, I think that's gonna mean a lot for them offensively, because they gave up a lot of runs last year.
Yeah.
What improvements have they made to their pitching staff? Because I'm blanking on that right now.
If you want to call it an improvement, I guess technically you can, but I know they brought in Sonny Gray. They traded for him from Minnesota. Like I said, if you want to call that improvement,
I gotta go Chicago. I got to.
There's some questions there.
Yeah.
Chris Archer is a question. Dylan Bundy is a question. Them trading Mitch Garver just to pick up Gary Sanchez later on is still a big question to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be an interesting team to look at.
I think they'll be a fun team to look at, but I gotta go White Sox. I gotta go White Sox. I can't. Even though they're losing Lucas Giolito for the start of the season. Is it Giolito they're losing?
Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn. That's it. Yeah, they're losing Lance Lynn to start the season, which is gonna hurt. But I still think that they're deep enough and good enough offensively and able to stay healthier. And so yeah, I gotta go White Sox. What are you thinking there?
Same thing here. White Sox are my pick as well.
I wanted the NL Central. I wanted the AL Central to be so different, but I can't choose against the teams that were. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. You know, it's just they got Giolito on the mound. Lance Lynn comes back and is healthy. You know, I would say their biggest question mark is that catcher that they have. Anyway, but
yeah,
you know, moving forward, this is a really solid lineup, and I think that Chicago's going to repeat as the division champions here.
All right, so let's head to the AL West. Now, this one might be one where because the Astros pitching staff is so, and then isn't McCullers going to be out to start the year? Is he
yes.
back? Okay,
no, he's going to be out to start.
So
the year.
He's out.
This is my surprise team.
Verlander is back, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So that helps if he's the Verlander of old. I don't. However we want to, because he had them couple of years where he struggled. I'm gonna have Texas is interesting because I know that's who you're talking about. That's who you're thinking about.
Actually, no.
Is it Seattle?
Not, surprisingly, it is Seattle. Yeah.
Okay, I could believe Seattle though, because they literally were like on the brink of making the playoffs last year. So yeah. But Texas is interesting because they spent hella money in the offseason. I don't know how. It's hard for me to fathom jumping from 60 games to being a playoff team. It has happened before. It's just hard for me to process in my mind. Just because it's nothing. It wouldn't be gradual. It'll just be right there. It just like be at the snap of a finger. Oakland, no, there's no fucking way they come close to even thinking
Dark
about
Horse
contending.
candidate now. No, I'm just joking.
I'm about to say, dog, ain't there's no damn way. The Angels,
I've been hurt too much by the Angels personally to believe in them.
I like Shohei and Trout, and that's all I'll say about that.
Uh,
That Joe Adele who could be good, but who knows what's gonna
which I got
happen
to give
there.
me a Joe Adele jersey.
And yeah, it's between Seattle, Houston, and Texas for me. I'm gonna say Seattle. Houston, there's a lot of question marks going into the season. You have to replace Carlos Correa, which will not be easy. And they still have Jordan. They still have Mighty Mouse, Altuve. Yeah. Their lineup is still good. Their rotation, their bullpen is. If that World Series was any indication, boy, shit. um, the boys do not do good in high leverage situations. Let's just say that. The starting pitching staff is kind of, if you didn't mean without Lance McCullers. I mean, it was one of the big problems they had going into the postseason last year, and they just overcame it up until they came up against the Braves, which they were the hottest team in baseball at the time. So, ran into a buzzsaw there. But I don't, man. Houston, I can't see them winning the division this year. I think they can make I think they make that second wild card spot. But well, they might make that second wild card spot. I don't know. I don't know if they're a playoff team this year.
Ooh, spicy take.
I don't
Spicy, but
because
not unrealistic though.
I Seattle, if they cannot do that thing they do, because they've had a problem with this. Like literally every year they've looked like they're gonna contend. They go through a streak of games, like after the All-Star break, where they just lose a bunch, and then they go on another winning streak, and then try to eke it out at the last minute, and they never do. That's gonna be the big thing with them. But I feel like the AL West is probably the most wide open division in baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
The AL East, potentially, I have to see how Boston play. Toronto, it's between the AL East and the AL West are the two most open divisions in baseball right now. The NL East, Mets get injured too much. There's too many guys that are disappointing. Plus, playing in New York is not easy. The NL Central, like maybe St. Louis wins it, but like every other team in that division is tanking. The NL West is between San Francisco and Los Angeles until I'm proven otherwise. In terms of San Diego, but yeah, the AL West and the AL East are probably the two most wide open divisions, and the AL East is purely from a standpoint of like they have like 60% of the MLB's best players stashed away in that one division, at least offensively. So yeah, I'm gonna go Seattle for the AL West.
I'm going to follow right in behind you. Seattle is my pick to win the AL West as well this
Mm-hmm.
year. Um, I do think that I think the wild card teams, just once again full disclosure, I think Toronto is going to take that first wild card spot. I think them
Mm-hmm.
and Boston are going to battle it out. And I think Houston's going to sneak in and get that second wild card spot. Yes, for any of our Bronx fans in there watching right now or maybe listening, I don't have the Yankees making it to the
Bro,
postseason.
fuck the Yankees, bro. Nah, fuck them. No, absolutely not.
But I think Seattle. I think
Mm-hmm.
this is the year that they end their what would be now 21-year streak of not making the postseason since 2001,
I think
and they
so.
get it done. I love them bringing in Jesse Winker from Cincinnati along with Eugenio Suarez. I know
Mm-hmm.
Suarez isn't the best average type guy, neither really is Winker, but they both hit for power, and I think that's important for that lineup. And you put them in the same lineup with that guy Mitch Haniger. Julio Rodriguez is getting put on the big league roster to start the season. It's gonna be really exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love their pickup in Robbie Ray. They put him at the front of the rotation, which he's going to be ahead of Marco Gonzalez, who I think was probably one of the more underrated pitchers in Major League Baseball, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have a nice little 1-2 combination going there, and it's a young team, relatively speaking. So I think that you always have that sort of question as to whether or not they'll be able to deal with that pressure. But I think they've been so close, or especially last season, they were so close. Like they were one game out
Mm-hmm.
of making a wild card. That I think they'll be used to the moment. And I think this year is the year that they get over that hump, and I really do think that they can win the division. That they will win the division this year.
Mm. All right. So with all that being said, it's time to get a little controversial here. We've already talked about our surprise teams. So unless you had more that you wanted to get off, other than the ones that you stated, um,
Surprise teams? No, I
mm,
we talked about the Rangers a bit. I agree
yeah,
that they're a surprise team. Detroit, you touched on, definitely a
mm,
surprise team. I wouldn't say San Francisco is a surprise team, but I think a lot of people are
think
anticipating them to
a hard
fall
regress.
a hard regress. I think they'll
Mm,
regress some, but I don't. I think they'll still be in the picture. I will
mm.
just throw in one surprise team, even though there is a controversy about them not really wanting to spend this offseason and losing Derek Jeter from the front office. Watch out for the Marlins. That
They have a
rotation
lot
is
of good
young.
young talent.
They do have a lot of good young talent. In a sense, they almost kind of remind me of Atlanta from a couple of years ago. But
Yeah,
Sandy Alcantara, Trevor Rogers, Pablo Lopez. They brought in Jorge Soler, Avisayo
mm,
Garcia, Jacob Stallings, Jazz Chisholm. Honestly, probably one of the best young up and coming superstars in the game
yep.
right now. Also
Louis
has the
Brinson can
cleanest
be,
Lewis
you know.
Brinson. Yeah.
I hope he is for
Um,
the sake of my fantasy team, but yeah.
so yeah, I just say watch out for the Marlins there, and
Mhm.
but that'd be my last surprise team.
All right, so let's talk about disappointing teams. I'm gonna go ahead and get one out the way, and I know you can agree with me. Let's talk about the New York Mets. Let's
Yes,
talk about
sir.
how they're gonna be missing their ace
Mhm,
for at least 2 months, because
mhm.
he has screwed his shoulder because he wanted to be Mr. Maverick and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna pitch 80 pitches throughout
Uh-huh.
spring training," and then pull something in his shoulder. Now he's out. I don't
Yeah.
know why, as a manager, you allow your pitcher that has not played a whole season in almost half a decade, it seems like, to pitch that many innings in spring training. Spring training is not that
Yeah.
important. I guess you want him to get injured now before the season starts, if that's the way you want to put it and look at it. But I don't. And then Lindor, people are expecting him to bounce back. I
Oh, learn my
maybe.
lesson there.
Who did they pick up? They picked up
They picked up Starlin Marte, Eduardo
Marte.
Escobar,
Yeah,
Mark Canna.
those are
He's a
guys
third
that
baseman.
can be great, but if
Yeah.
they start off the season slow, or if they even get off to a hot start and then regress, you're playing in a division where you got the Braves there, which
Mhm.
last year was what happened. They won. They were leading the division almost the whole year. DeGrom gets hurt. Everybody starts to fall off, and then reality hit
Yep.
with the Mets, and that's, I think for me, it's just, I think a lot of Mets fans don't act in reality. I think a lot of them are stuck in 2014 and 2015.
Hmm.
And I know this team on paper sounds good, but in practice, especially with the guys that were there already, like Pete Alonso, which, and he's not going to start the season on the team because he's injured from that car accident. Um, but I'm blanking on his name right now. He was like a contact, Nemo. That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh yeah, Brandon Nimmo.
He
Yeah.
he's a, he's at he has met expectations the last couple of seasons. But from the pitching staff, like, they have great relievers, but that great they have a great Edwin Diaz is still a closer, right? Or,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like, I can't.
That's
I
question.
can't I can't say that they're a division winning team right now until they show me that they can win the division. I can't call them a division winner, and I think a lot of people are hyping them up and setting them up for failure like they did last year. Now they should have won the division. Let's get that straight. But losing your ace, and then the poor managing, and then Baez not handing out the way they thought he would after the break or after the trade deadline, and then Lindor playing as bad as he did. I'm just I don't hey man, I'm not buying it. I can't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Make sure the microphone here is working. You know, it's going to be real interesting.
Hmm.
And I, hey, I am willing to welcome all the smoke that this could potentially bring. But go ahead and bookmark this. It's going to be really interesting when at the end of that 162 game season this year, we all sit back and assess the fact that Steve Cohen hopped on Twitter, talked about so much, how much money he has, threw so
Oh
much money
man.
at different people.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, you know what? He brought in people that he thinks that can help the team in theory, on paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Starlin Marte, love him as a player. Mark Canna, decent player, kind of getting up there in age.
Mm-hmm.
Eduardo Escobar, versatile, decent hitter. Max Scherzer, Jacob DeGrom will undoubtedly go down as, if not the two greatest pitchers of this generation, two of the greatest pitchers of this generation, definitely two of the greatest pitchers of all time. But when that final game is played and that last out of the regular season is made,
Mm-hmm.
and the New York Mets are sitting at home realizing that dadgum we didn't win the division and we missed out on not one but
Oh.
two wild card spots,
Yep.
it's gonna be really interesting, man. I'm telling you, like bookmark it here right now. I am willing to say that the New York Mets are not going to make the playoffs at all. Heck, I'll be honest with you. I don't even see the Mets really threatening to win 90 games. I don't. I really don't see it because on paper they look like they can. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie. On paper they look like they
Mm-hmm.
can. But if we look at what's happened in actual reality over the past couple of years, Jacob DeGrom hasn't had a healthy season in the past since, as they said at the beginning of the Chief Keef mixtape. I don't know when. Max Scherzer ended last year with dead arm and couldn't pitch in a
Mm-hmm.
postseason game, and he started off this season with dead arm. Right,
Mm-hmm.
still feeling the effects of that. You've got Taiwan Walker, who's a question mark. He wasn't that good of a pitcher last year. You have to see if he's going to bounce back. Francisco
Mm-hmm.
Lindor is getting paid a buttload of money to not really produce at the level of the money he's getting paid for. Yes, he could bounce back, but he's going to have to just have to be a big bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, JD Davis, he's always a question mark because he really can't stay healthy like that. Brandon Nimmo, not really moving the needle for me, in my opinion. James McCann, not really moving the needle for me, in my opinion. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's there. Um,
Yeah.
I just Edwin Diaz. Let me tell you something. Another person I had to deal with last year on my fantasy baseball team because my closers just suck. You know what my closers suck? Because I had Matt Barnes, I had Edwin Diaz, both the two
Well,
worst closers in
yeah.
baseball last year.
Yeah.
High
Yeah.
leverage is not that man's friend at all. So I just no, I don't see it as of right now. April 6th,
8:31.
8:32 p.m. Yep, 8:31 p.m. There you go. Jordan Austin Jackson is going on record as saying the New York Mets will not make the postseason this year.
All right. I mean, I agree. I ain't went that hard, but I agree. Um, staying in the same city, and I don't even got to say anything here. I'm just gonna say their name and keep it moving. The New York Yankees. You could go ahead and expand on that if you want to, but I don't think I got to say anything there.
I got them down as one of my worst offseason teams. The only other team I have
Mm,
outside of that are the Oakland Athletics. The reason
yeah.
why is because the New York Yankees, we hear so much like
Oh,
about
we're
how
gonna get
much
Freddie Freeman. They're gonna get Correa. They're gonna get
Freddie
Chris Bryant.
Freeman,
They're gonna get,
yep,
Trevor Story.
Trevor
Blah blah
Story,
blah 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 blah. And they got none of them. They
they
had to
got
settle for
Josh
Rizzo.
Donaldson and
Yeah.
Anthony Rizzo. Right. Like, really, you
Hey,
got,
they're bringing back Mister 200 average. So enjoy Gallo.
I just don't.
So.
You got a huge question mark behind Garrett Cole in that rotation. I mean,
Yes.
Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah,
I'm
Royce.
not gonna say that on stream, but we all know what Aroldis Chapman is dealing with.
Well, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna need
Anyway,
him to not do that this year, but that's
uh, yeah, it's just
keep
I
your
need to
hands off your partners, people,
exactly yes.
please.
Um, yeah, the Yankees, man, and it's funny because I watch clips of Yankees like fans and
Mm-hmm. Or you like me
reporters
with
and
the
stuff on.
Lakers, man.
Yeah, it's
Just
what it
watching the
is.
train wreck.
Right, it is a beautiful train wreck. It's bad, but you can't take your eyes off of it.
Oh no, if there's another team I would add to that list, I don't think there's an. I think those two are the main two teams. Just off the fact, no, I got one more. The Phillies.
Yes.
Not having a pitching staff is crazy to me. And like I know they have like probably one of the better power lineups. But if half that power can't make consistent contact, it's a problem because then you're not gonna have as many runners on base, so those home runs don't really mean much. Two, they can't field. And playing in a division where you have to play teams like the Marlins and the Braves that have all that speed, not really going to happen. I mean, Royce, that's what happened to them last year. It fell apart in October.
The New York Yankees.
Oh my God! But it fell apart in October for the Phillies. They were supposed to win the division. They had the lead for like a week. What happened with that? They couldn't field, couldn't pitch, and the Braves beat them, swept them in that series, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Yeah, shut the MVP. The I'm not gonna go there. Bryce Harper had a good season. No, the MVP from last year in the NL got shut down against the Braves. You know, the Braves didn't win the World Series. So, I'm gonna leave him alone for now. I ain't got as much smoke for Bryce Harper as I used to have when he was in Washington. Essentially because Philly isn't a threat. But anyway, I think the Phillies are gonna disappoint. I think they're gonna be right back where they were last year. They're gonna be barely over 500 team. They're going to be competitive for a good bit of the year, but when it gets late in the year, unless they make some moves at the deadline or near the deadline to get pitching, and even I don't think any of those moves are going to be impactful enough to change the trajectory of their season and their team. Like that's a lot of holes, in that team, getting in the crunch time, like Roy said in the comment section in October. In September and October, when you're making that playoff push in a division like the NL East that has the potential to be as close as it is with the offensive firepower that the Mets should have, and that the Braves have proven that they do have. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. I get the hype. I understand why it's there. I just think that a lot of people need to kind of temper their expectations of the Mets of the Phillies. Now, that is to say, they could move into that surprise team thing because they're kind of on the fence for me. I'm saying they're disappointing because I think the media is way too quick to get excited about that lineup without looking at like everything that goes into what makes a baseball team good.
To that point, I just saw MLB Network just did their predictions for the World Series. Had someone predict that the Phillies would beat the Blue Jays in 6 games in the World Series this year.
So if they play the Blue Jays will fucking run them out of the park. That wouldn't even be close. Like in Philly, in Toronto, that series is not going to be close. Vladdy Jr. might have 10 home runs in 4 games in that series off that pitching staff.
Oh my goodness.
They're that bad. And I'm just talking about Vladdy.
It's just such a question mark. I mean, Nola is good, definitely. Wheeler is very good. He was a Cy Young candidate last year. I think I personally still have some questions to see if he'll regress or maintain that level of pitching consistency or not. But I mean,
their relief staff is so bad.
They haven't had a good relief staff in years. This is
what Uris Familia. I mean,
it's just
maybe you get good Uris, but you don't. I just with Brad Hand. Like
isn't Ian Kennedy still there?
Maybe, but all of these guys that like even Brad Hand and Uris Familia are like pitchers that should be better, but had that like near 4 ERA as a reliever, which is not good at all.
Yeah.
As a closer or a high leverage reliever, you should not have an ERA over a damn 3.6. Like you're getting in the territory of I can't really trust you because you give up a lot of runs, and so I don't see it with the Phillies, man. No, like I said, I've been wrong before, and I will eat that if I'm wrong. Until I eat a lot, I will eat that if I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't
agree with you.
But do you have any more disappointing teams that you wanted to talk about?
No, those are the ones I had there. Yeah, those are my teams.
To anybody listening, I promise me and JJ do not agree this much
No,
on
we
stuff,
don't.
but it's just the nature. It is what it is. Both of us are Braves fans here. I think that might have been the good thing to have been here since he is a Nationals or I don't know. I don't know. Either way,
Nationals, I think.
anyway, I wouldn't claim the Orioles either, but it is what it is. Um, let's get to award winners for
Yes, sir.
2022. Now, look, I know this. You see it in the ticker. It'll probably say way too early predictions because guys can get hurt. Things happen. But who is your pick for AL and NL MVP?
So, this one NL MVP, I struggle with a bit because I think that there are a handful of guys. So I
Mm-hmm.
have the person who I end up settling on, who I think will win, and then I actually have three dark horse candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Spoiler alert: two of those guys play for the Braves. Just full disclosure. But I think for NL MVP, I'm going to go with Juan Soto. I know he came close to
Mm-hmm.
winning it last year. Um, Definitely one of the better players in the major leagues right now. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's going to be tough, and I know a lot of people, myself included, will, if the Nationals season kind of goes how we anticipated to, and they're not really anywhere close to a postseason race, that's going to bring some question marks too about how much does winning really affect it. But I think ultimately, though, he's probably going to come away with it if he stays healthy and plays to the level of the caliber he is.
My,
Just real quick,
oh, go ahead.
I was say real quick, my dark horse candidates, Ron Acuna Jr. coming back from
Mm-hmm.
injury. I don't know if how much time him missing time, and if he'll even be able to play. Hopefully, back to the same level he's capable of. But if he is, I don't know how much him missing time will factor into that or not. Trey Turner from the Dodgers. I think he's kind of an under the radar type guy, and Matt Olson playing in a new ballpark in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Think he could possibly be a sleeper candidate.
I struggle with this one because I'm looking at the way the NL is panning out this season and the players that they have there. I'm gonna go with one. It's not out of left field, but I don't think it's that out of left field. I'm gonna go Arenado.
Interesting.
I don't know why, and I don't know why. I just have
Very
this
interesting.
sense that he's about to have like the best season of his career and win MVP.
Very interesting. Wow, I will love that.
Yeah, I'm going Arenado. My dark horse, one of them is definitely Ronnie. I'm interested to see what Olsen does in Truist. I hate saying that. It should be SunTrust, but whatever. Anyway, Truist Park. If if Max Scherzer can stay healthy, then he's in the running, no doubt. He's
Mhm.
still one of the best pitchers in the league. Um, maybe as well as he played in San Francisco, Chris Bryant could be an option there, playing there a full
Okay.
season, not being somewhere where he was on the brink of being traded every damn day. Um, of course, Bryce Harper, if he returns back to what he was last season before, the division was on the line, then he'll definitely be in the running for it. Juan Soto, of course.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and I'm gonna say Arenado. I don't know
Okay,
why
I like it.
specifically. He was just the first. He was a name I thought of, and I was like, huh, I could see
I
that
like it.
actually happen. Yeah,
I like it. All right. Do you want to go first on your AL MVP pick?
you go ahead. No, I can go first. I can go first since you went first the last time for
I was
AL
thinking we
MVP.
might have the same person here, but we'll see.
This is the one thing I didn't think about before the podcast. AL MVP. I'm 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 going. It's probably going to be Shohei again if he can stay healthy. What I will say is this: is that voter fatigue is a real thing.
Hmm.
Vladdy was close to winning it last. Well, as close as you can get to somebody who, wasn't a Cy Young candidate, and a
Yeah.
MVP and a batting title, a homer and title candidate in the same year. But I think it's between Shohei, Vladdy, maybe Marcus Simeon.
Okay.
I don't know. It's an interesting one there. Uh, Mike Trout, if he can stay healthy, is obviously a candidate.
Mike.
Maybe Trevor Story if he like comes into Fenway and hits like 50 fucking home runs this year. He could be on the list.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go Shohei again. Now I will say this. I am one of the very few people that are concerned with Shohei's durability. Because this man is pitching every 5 days and then hitting every day that he's off pitching, which is very risky. I know he's very talented at both, but I would think that it'd be smart as he gets older to pick one, saying that he's already 27.
Yeah.
Very risky, but either way, I gotta go Shohei.
Okay.
Plus, I hope he repeats what he did last year for
That'd be absolutely
fantasy
wild.
reasons. But anyway, I'm gonna go Shohei.
Shohei is definitely always a great pick. I mean, there's literally nobody else doing what he's doing right now in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But for this year, I think I have my MVP as Black Guerrero Jr. As he mentioned, he came
Yeah.
close to doing it last year. I think he can repeat what he did again last year, if not take it up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll also help his case if Toronto does get over that hump and um, they, make it into that. Wait, they made them to the postseason last year? No, they didn't.
No, they
No,
missed
that's
out
right,
by
they
one
didn't.
game.
That's right. So yeah, I think if they make it into the postseason this year, I think that'll help out his case.
Mm-hmm.
My dark horse candidates, I actually think Rafael Devers, third baseman for Boston, could be
That's
a
a good one.
dark horse candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. And I also have Corey Seager. I think him
Yeah.
hitting in that ballpark,
Mm-hmm.
in that lineup too, he's always going to be a really good defender. I think
Mm-hmm.
he could potentially put together a season that at least get some looks at being MVP.
Okay. Cy Young.
Cy
Shoot.
Young.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start in the NL here. I have a young pitcher I'm really high on. I had him on my fantasy team last year. I'm gonna go Sandy Alcantara. I'll be honest.
Hmm.
I, I think I mean, the dude is he's a high strikeout rate. Unfortunately, I know you and I were talking about this off stream a couple of days ago, Darrell. With him pitching for the Marlins, he's not going to get really as
Well,
many wins as the
yeah,
next
but I
guy.
mean, look, if Felix Hernandez won a couple and he was playing in Seattle, and
That is true.
yeah.
That's a great comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he has all the makeup of the stuff to really be. I think he's truly knock on the door of being a truly elite pitcher. And I think this year he's going to take another step forward, and I can
Mm-hmm.
see him, especially with some injury concerns with the guys like Degrom and Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Walker Bueller is always going to be in the conversation. Julio Rice is
Mm-hmm.
always going to be in the conversation. I think you can definitely make a case for Max Fried in
Yep.
Atlanta. But I'm feeling Sandy Alcantara win the Cy Young this year for National League.
Yeah, I would say Freed, but my only concern with him in terms of the voting is strikeouts.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
which in my thing is if you're not giving up runs, it doesn't matter if you strike
It
people
doesn't
out or
matter.
not. But I know award winners like numbers, so Alcantara.
Yeah.
I just realized that 200 strikeouts. You know what's crazy is I had Alcantara on my fantasy team the year before and I didn't keep them in. I kept Shane Bieber. No, that we had to reset the league. We had to reset the league,
Oh, okay.
so we didn't have any
Oh,
keepers. We just redid the draft completely.
and you
But
gave up. You didn't get Alcantara, but you got Shane Bieber. That's
well, I
unfortunate.
traded Shane
That's
Bieber, so
Oh, you
and he got
traded
hurt.
him.
Yeah,
Oh,
he got hurt like at the end of last year, which was cool because that fucked my fantasy team. But either way,
so Tony.
I have to go for me NL. I didn't realize how good. I knew he was good, but I didn't realize how good Alcantara was last year. Like how good he was. It's between him, Freed. You said Bueller. If Max Scherzer can stay healthy, even though having dead arm at the end of the playoffs and then coming into the season with shoulder strain issues, is not optimal.
Yeah.
But he's slated to start later this week anyway. So whatever, you're supposed to play. I don't like the person's supposed to be your ace being knocked back in the rotation because he can't stay healthy. But anyway, yeah, I might piggyback off of you and go to Alcantara. I think I have to. I can't think of anybody else. Like I said, Freed's thing is going to be the strikeouts. And I don't think he's going to be used as much this season because the Braves bullpen is so deep that he's probably not going to go past 6. Especially knowing Snit, he's probably not going to go past 6. He's probably not going to see that third roundabout of those batters. So, but one of my main criticisms is Snit. I think he does that way too often. But
hey man, if the pitcher's pitching good, leave him in.
yeah, I think that's the thing with Snit is sometimes he knows when to pull people, and sometimes he lets them go too long. Which is whatever. But yeah, I might have to go Alcantara. He's gonna get the innings pitched, because I don't think their relief staff is all that, and he's gonna get the strikeouts. He's gonna have the ERA. He's pitched well both seasons he's been in the majors. I don't see why he won't win. I don't see why he doesn't have a chance to win it.
That's fair.
No. Listen, we're saying this based off of what we know, based off of the trends of how these players are playing. We already know it's going to be some washed up pitcher. Hell, Wainwright could contend for it. He was in contention this year. You know what I mean? It could be some washed up pitcher or some rookie that comes in and pitches well, or I don't know, or some veteran that hasn't really broke out yet that's going to break out at the age of 31. You know what I mean? It can happen. But right now, this is based off of what we know. I'm gonna go with Alcantara. If Scherzer stays healthy, him. If not, Alcantara, because you got Walker Buehler. I'm reverting it back. I'm going Walker Buehler. Alcantara will be my dark horse. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And for the AL, who do you have?
For the AL, I have Lucas Giolito from the Chicago White Sox. High strikeout pitcher, kind of like in the same vein as Sandy Alcantara finished last year with 201 strikeouts, pitched 178 innings. I just think he has all the things there. Once again, it's something that's repeated a lot in baseball, especially. But if he just stays healthy, I really do think he has a chance. I mean, the AL is definitely has a good round of pitchers. Robbie Ray, Kevin Gossman, guys like that. But I think Giolito is probably the top of the class in my opinion, and I think he can win it this year. Go Harvard Westlake.
I'm gonna go Lance Lynn.
Interesting.
I think that the Rangers are if let's see. Let me think about this one. If he's going to be a big part of why the Rangers. Wait, he's with the White Sox. What am I talking about? I'm thinking about him being with the Rangers. God damn it! We just talked about him being on the White. This is what I'm talking about. Yo, this is why I got JJ here.
It's all right, man.
And he's going to be hurt. Just how long is he hurt for? A month?
I don't. Let's see. Lance injury.
Oh, he has a tear in his knee.
Yeah, surgery.
I'm gonna go.
Ouch. Dang, Lance.
Shane Bieber is starting the season healthy, right?
He is.
I'm going Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
I gotta go Shane Bieber. Because he probably would have won Cy Young if he stayed healthy last year.
That's true.
So I gotta go with him.
He won it back in what, 2020, 2019?
Something like that. I would say Garrett Cole, but no, because he's pitching in Yankee Stadium, and I think he hates himself for going to the Yankees from the way he looks when he pitches out there. He also had a terrible postseason. He had a shaky season all around. I can't see Garrett Cole winning it. I gotta go Shane Bieber if he can stay healthy.
Fair.
I would say Rookie of the Year, but that's one of those things where you don't know if people are gonna get called up when they're gonna get called up, like Bobby Witt or Adley Rutschman being hurt and things of that nature. You never know how that goes. So I'm gonna leave that one alone, unless you had somebody in mind. The AL and NL.
Not specifically. I will just say it is cool to see a lot of teams this year bringing up their rookies, these top prospects we've been tracking for a couple of years. As you mentioned, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be on the open day roster. Hunter Green for Cincinnati is going to be pitching in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You got Spencer Torkelson coming in Detroit, Julio Rodriguez in Seattle.
Strider's pitching for the Braves too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm.
He made the roster. So I don't have anyone who's a favorite necessarily. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
who will win that, but it is going to be cool just to see so many of these guys who have been talked about as prospects just make their major league debut.
All right. Well, then let's jump into the last topic that we have planned for the day, which will be who had the best off season and who had
Yes,
the
sir.
worst off season. And I'm gonna let you jump with the worst.
Okay,
Let
worst
you go
off
off. Yeah,
season.
start with the worst.
Bet. I've got two teams worst off season. Kind of
Mm,
touched on this a little bit already. New York Yankees, I think, have one of the
yeah.
worst off seasons because, I mean, they're still a good team, no doubt about it. They still got Judge. They still have,
I'm a.
um,
I don't.
they still have Giancarlo, Garrett Cole, but I think that especially with them having such a
Mm,
question mark at shortstop, them missing out on one of the many shortstops that was in this class. The Seager, the Correa, the Trevor
Marcus
Story,
Simeon.
the Simeon, right?
Mm,
And with them being the New York Yankees, money is never an issue with them, and they have expectations to, they're big spenders usually, especially during the old Steinbrenner days. But yeah, I think them having to settle for, and no disrespect to Anthony Rizzo or Josh Donaldson, they're still good ball players. The missing out on Freddie Freeman though, also, and Matt Olson in the trade, it's just,
mm.
yeah. I think given expectations compared to results, I think the Yankees had one of the worst off seasons in my opinion.
I'm gonna ask this,
Hmm.
and I think it's becoming ever so apparent. That Yankee way shit. I think it's starting to hurt them in free agency. Like, if I'm a free agent and I'm thinking to myself, because the Yankees will throw however much money they want to bring you there.
Yeah.
But if I'm a free agent, first of all, I have to move to New York, which is not
Hmm.
appealing to me at all.
Hmm.
Because it's like fucking freezing cold from like August to May. Then you got this whole thing where you gotta shave off your facial hair and
Hmm.
you gotta be clean cut, and like that's
Hmm.
boring. And like especially with these younger crop of players, like I'm not going to play in no fucking New York with all of that, man. I'm not doing all of that. This is why people. That's why you see more free agents running to the Mets because they're like, bro, if I want to play in New York, I'd rather play for a
Right.
team that's gonna let me be myself. Now,
Hmm.
the Mets, whether that's for better or worse, that
Yep.
lets me be myself as opposed to the Yankees that have like 80 million restrictions on what I can do and how I can dress, and
Yeah.
I'm not doing all that. So I think that has something to do with why they strike out in free agency so much.
Yeah.
Plus,
No,
their taxes.
Texas are crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I definitely agree with you. And you also just look at the teams around them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Boston's gotten better. Toronto is low. Toronto has not only gotten better, but they've gotten better with young talent that's going to be a part of their core for the foreseeable future. Um, the Orioles, yeah, we haven't seen them win in a long time, but they still have good young players that are coming up in the Adley Rushmans and Cedric Mullins is there and stuff like that. And then just outside the AL or outside the AL East, of course, you got Tampa Bay too in the AL East. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Chicago's a good team. The Mariners are going to come up. The Astros are still good. These teams are just leaving the Yankees kind of behind. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just they haven't been able to catch up.
Um. For
Oh,
me, oh, go ahead.
just real quick, my other team with the worst offseason, this pretty much is explaining this. It explains itself. The Oakland Athletics. I mean, thank y'all, but yeah, it's been bad. Um,
Yeah, them
yeah.
boys gonna cook, and it might be over for them boys.
Hmm.
There's no might be. It is. I'm gonna throw in somebody who I'm surprised you haven't talked about yet, and that's the Reds. Um,
Oh,
I don't know how you
yeah.
get that close to being in the playoffs and then just
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah,
oh, we
they
just want
did.
to suck again. Just gonna rebuild again. Why? You've done this twice in the last decade. It has
Hmm.
not worked out for you once. You have not generated a World Series team from getting talent and then trading them all or letting them
Nope.
walk every time the offseason comes. You let Castellanos walk. Hell, you might as well have fucking traded what's his, how am I making his name? You might as well have traded first baseman.
First baseman. Oh, Joey Votto.
Yeah, you might as well have traded Votto, who apparently is out there on TikTok doing God knows what. I don't know
Bro, that
anymore.
TikTok was so bad.
Anyway,
Oh,
this
but
is
he
maybe why I
was.
forgot his name because I saw that earlier today and I don't know why I just blinked. But anyway, yeah, like you might as well have let him walk. You have no reason to keep him. You're not going to win anything unless he just doesn't feel like moving out of Ohio or since from leaving from Cincinnati, which at this point might as well stay there. He's already been there for the best and the worst of that team. So at this point, nothing can really disappoint you in his situation.
It was the worst of
Um,
times.
and yeah, bro, like the Reds, I know a couple of Reds fans who were very pissed off with their offseason, and I had every reason to be pissed off with their offseason because it's fucked up how you could win, what was it, like 80, 84, 85 games last season and just be like, oh, yeah, we're going to fire sale.
Traded Jesse Winker, traded Eugenio Suarez, traded Sonny Gray.
Crazy, man. Like, why the fuck would you do that? That's just the owner being cheap and trying to maximize maximize profit when you're already making a bunch of money in a loyal baseball city. It's crazy to me.
That hasn't had a true team to cheer for since, I don't know, when they were no hit by Roy Halladay, rest in peace, back in like what 07, 08 in the postseason. Yeah.
But
Man, those were the days of Brandon Phillips, bro.
Bro, that era of baseball from like 06 to like 2010 always will sit with me because I stopped watching baseball from like 2010 to like 2015, like 5 years. I kept up with it very minimally, you know.
Yeah.
Brian Braun years, steroids, all of that, blah blah blah, and Cano and all of those guys. Like, yeah, I know of them, but I really didn't watch them in their prime like that. I just watch highlights on Sports Center. So start for recording. Don't worry about JJ is laughing so hard. There's nothing to do with anything I just said off camera. We're back. We had to start the stream over with. So when you see this on this on YouTube, this is gonna be in two parts. Why? I do not have a good video editing software right now. I am being cheap. And I don't feel like splicing this together. It's easy if I had one. I don't feel like doing it. And I'm uploading this the day after we record it because opening day starts tomorrow. And after I hop off of here, I'm going to play 2K. So I'm just letting y'all know that right now. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. Audio form, no, I'm not. I have an easier way to splice that together. So I will do that. And I know YouTube has like an in-app video editor. I don't have time for all that shit. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. The last thing we were talking about before the stream cutoff and the recording cutoff was who had the best offseason out of all of the team. Royce, I'm not doing that because of the stuff that y'all say in that group chat when we were playing 2K. Anyway, we talk about who has the best offseason, which teams had the better offseasons, or the offseasons that stood out of all of the teams in the MLB. And the team that I was bringing up before I was rudely cut off by my dumbass internet was Royce. I don't believe that the team that I said before my internet cut off was the Atlanta Braves. To lose Freddie Freeman and then the re-up, getting Kenley Jansen, getting Matt Olson, going out and getting old buddy from Tampa Bay. I'm forgetting his name already. Again,
Colin McHugh.
Yeah, and then it's just getting Rosario back, getting Ozuna back. Even though I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there on this podcast. I'm not gonna talk about it. But anyway, all I will say is this: if you were in a situation where you and your wife have both been arrested for domestic abuse, it might be time to call a relationship. And anything that you do from here on out is gonna get you kicked out of the league because you choose to stay in a relationship that you know does not work for you. Regardless, I'm not here to do that today. But getting him back this season, getting Ronnie back. I mean, to lose Freddie and to get all of that going and then getting all those players back this coming season, I have no reason to say that they didn't have one of the better off seasons. I would have liked them to get an extra starter, but the market was kind of thin for that, and I didn't want the Braves to like overpay for somebody that ended up not panning out. So
and to that point, I think they make up for that by going so deep into their bullpen. You know that you can pretty much trust Freed and Morton and Anderson to be solid, reliable starters, and even they're going to have some days where they're not on their best game. But you
Mm,
know, after you get past those three, if they want to run a 5-man rotation, 6-man rotation, those last 2 or 3 spots, there's some big holes and some big question marks. It'd be nice if some of the younger guys step up this year and can solidify themselves.
mm.
You got Noah coming back from injury. You got Kyle Wright
Can you not
getting a
punch a
shot.
wall or whatever?
Right. Um, but even if they don't have their best games, having a bullpen as deep as theirs is, of course, you don't
Mm,
want to rely on your bullpen a lot, or if you don't have to, but
mm,
it is a nice luxury to have. So it's crazy because I don't know if anybody would have, if you would have told me like some months ago, like before the lockout happened, if you would have told me that the Braves were going to lose Freddie Freeman and still get better as a team, I'd be
mm.
like, okay, how exactly? But doggone it, hey man, Alex Anthopoulos,
Mm.
legendary GM.
Another team that I had on that list, and I had it on my train of thought before, my internet yet again wanted to be dumb. But anyway, enough of me slandering my internet, because what does that do for anybody? Um, I I'm gonna let you go ahead, JJ. I'll bounce off of you because I've completely forgotten. I need to recollect myself.
No worries at all.
Yeah.
So I also had the Braves on my list too. We touched on this earlier. I think it's no surprise the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, you signed Freddie Freeman. You already have a really good lineup. You just lengthen that lineup a lot more. Kimbrel's a big question mark, but I think they had to do something, especially when they lost Jansen. I would be interested in seeing them potentially use Bruce Dark-Gatterall in high leverage situations this year. Because I mean, I know the man just throws the ball hard.
Hmm.
That's his calling card, but I think that you should at least give him a look. I mean, right now you got Blake January 6th Trianon out there, as your projected closer, but or no, setup man behind Kimbrel or in front of Kimbrel, but definitely the Dodgers. And I'll just run through just really quickly a couple more teams because we already kind of touched on these. But I think Toronto had a pretty decent offseason, bringing in Gossman, bringing in Matt Chapman to play third base, and also my pick to win the AL West this year, Seattle Mariners. Um, Adding Adam Frazier, adding Eugenio Suarez and Jesse Winker, bringing in Robbie Ray. So those are just the teams I had on my list
Well,
of
JJ,
best
you
off
just
seasons.
literally the only other teams I would have had on my list. You just ran through them right there. But
I am so
oh no,
sorry.
you
Oh
oh
my
no,
bad.
JJ,
I
listen,
should have kicked it to you.
thank
My
no,
bad.
thank you, thank you, because that internet thing just threw me off. But I don't think we have anything else to talk about. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about on this podcast?
Did you want to give out a way too early World Series prediction right now, or do you want to hold off on that?
I'm gonna hold off on that.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not gonna do that. Now I
Okay.
know that I know somebody's. Oh, you should just do it anyway. That's soft. Screw off. I'm not doing it yet. Anyway, since we had to restart, and I kind of feel bad putting up a 6 minute little splat on the channel. Um, I could just edit it together, but I'm not gonna do that. Quickly, Masters predictions.
Yo.
Since the Masters is gonna happen,
Ooh,
we might
nice.
as well talk about it since it starts tomorrow as well. What do you
Yes.
think? Who do you think is gonna win the Masters?
Oh man, just quick side note. That's gonna be a tough day of work tomorrow, boy.
It'll
Um,
be crazy because after
Masters.
I get off that work call. Anyway, not if anybody that I work with sees this, I'm just playing.
Same, same,
Playing.
same. Masters predictions for me.
Mm,
I like. I guess I'm kind of biased here because I drafted him to my team this week, but I
mm,
think John Rahm has what it takes to get it done this week.
mm,
I I, I think John Rahm's probably gonna be my pick. I'd say a sleeper candidate for me would be Paul Casey. Again, someone
mm.
else is on my team this week, but Paul Casey is always around in the majors. He's always around at Augusta. Wouldn't be surprised if he finally pulls it off this year.
I'm also going to be extremely biased here. I got to go with my boy Cam Smith. He's gotten
Hey,
close 2 years in a row. I have to
yes,
go with him. I think he's young, I know, but he plays the course very well.
He does.
and he's played this course well over numerous years. I have to go with him.
Yeah.
I don't think I really have a dark horse pick because it took me forever to think about who was going to win the tournament. But I think I got.
Hey, we could.
There was a weird noise going on outside. Jesus Christ.
Oh,
No, it's probably somebody dropping by. But
gotcha.
yeah, I gotta go Cam Smith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
solid pick, definitely. Dude's
Mm,
super talented and
yeah.
rocks a mullet.
Mm,
Can't really pull that off nowadays.
mm. No, I'm gonna ask you about Tiger. What do
All
you
right.
think he's gonna do? The last time we saw him golf, he golfed with his son. He golfed with Charlie at that the family. I forgot the name of the event. He
Yeah,
looked great.
he
As
did.
good, he looked as good as you would expect somebody coming off of breaking their leg
Yeah.
and messing their back up in a car accident like that would look. I mean, he looked amazing. Everything considered. Where do you think? What do you think he's gonna be at for the Masters? Having to play a full 4 days and not having somebody that can take half your shots. Because he's gonna take every iron shot. He's gonna take every putt. Gonna be a lot of strain on his leg, a lot of strain on his back, which he's had problems with in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you see him falling at? Because like we talked about, off stream before, Tiger's not coming back unless he thinks he can play all 4 days and thinks he can win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has to know something that we don't
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
his body.
Yeah. No, that's a great
Mm-hmm.
point. And they asked him that during his whatchamacallit too. That exact question, that exact point that you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Does he think he can win this week? And of course, he said, I do. Um, and of course, I know I don't have to. I love Tiger. I don't. I would hate to be on the side of doubting him. I don't think I don't think you should necessarily ever fully doubt Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's been. I know he's been working hard to get back to get back to this point and even have the chance to play in the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing. It is an amazing feat that he's playing this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think best case scenario for me, I think he makes the cut and he probably finishes like tied. I don't know, maybe like a somewhere tied in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I know this is probably gonna come back to bite me in the butt. If I'm being honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't as of right now because I know he's played, he's walked the course these past couple of days and stuff like that. But there's just you can't really you can't fully simulate that tournament environment. The pressure, the adrenaline ramping up, the wear
Mm-hmm.
and tear on your body, like you said. Having to hit all of your shots and stuff like that. Augusta is a very tough course to walk. I don't know if he'll make the cut. Really, I don't, and I hate saying that. I
Mm-hmm.
really hate saying that. I do because I don't want to doubt Tiger, but based on what he's coming off of and the amount of talent that's out there, I don't know, man. If he makes a cut, I'll be very very happy. I
I'm
will
gonna say
be.
something probably stupid. I think he's gonna contend. Here's why. Here's why. The reason why I'm gonna say that is because I think Tiger knows he does not have him on. He's on borrowed
Hmm.
time. If he is going to play in this tournament, I think he's gonna give it everything he has left. I don't know if he'll ever win
Hmm.
another Masters again or if he'll get close.
Hmm.
But the story would just be too good. If he
Oh yeah.
wins, it's gonna be the biggest story in golf since he won it back in 2019.
Yep.
Even bigger because this is gonna be even under. At that point, he was playing again for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
even contended the year before that. Or was it a couple of years? The 2 years before that. Either way,
Those around that time. You're right. Yeah.
so which and he had been on a crazy run when he won that Masters because he almost won the U.S. Open that year too, or PGA.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, PG.
So it's crazy because Tiger was playing some of the best golf he's played in a decade, and then
Mhm,
in that car accident. But
mhm.
um, yeah, man, I think like I said, this might be crazy. I'm probably gonna come back to kick me in the ass if he finishes over par tomorrow, but I'm going based off of the last time I saw him golf. If he can bottle that up and put that into a full round of golf,
Mhm.
for 4 rounds, which is asking a lot of somebody who has not played in 2 years. A full round in 2 years by himself. I'm I'm a hot take. I'm gonna say he contends. I'm gonna say he comes into Sunday. He's gonna at the least he's gonna put pressure on somebody.
Okay. See, I like this though because we have two completely opposite ends of the spectrum on these predictions. You have him as contending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here saying that I'd be surprised if he even makes a cut.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, we're a.
Yeah.
There's no room in the middle for these predictions. I
No.
like that.
Nope.
I like it.
Royce is saying BDE by 15. I don't. Yeah, I don't know about that, but hey, But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this damn episode up and edit it because my internet went out. Even though I could have kept recording the episode, I did the stream cut off and all of that. So on Twitch, this is gonna be uploaded as 2 separate VODs. On YouTube, it's not gonna take me long to cut this together and put it together. So I'll have that up by tomorrow morning if the internet holds up, because we're supposed to get a bad round of storms like at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is the worst time possible for it to storm in the day. But either way, got that going on. It's gonna be uploaded to Spotify, Apple Podcasts by tomorrow. Also edit the audio down. Like I said, it won't take me long. I'm just gonna lay over everything that we did in this podcast is gonna be kept in. I'm not gonna be doing heavy editing like I did the last time with the other podcasts. I think it was one of the main issues and one of the main mistakes that I made. I think leaving in all of our mistakes makes it more candid anyway. And plus, it's easier for me to kick out episodes if I'm just fast editing it and then getting it up. So, yeah, I'm not going to cut anything out, especially this little excerpt here. You're going to have to watch this if you're watching the end of the podcast on YouTube. But with that being said, JJ, Darrell, we hope to have Ben back soon. We also have Baxley, Hartley, Royce, Chris, and anybody else who we have on the podcast. I'm blanking on everybody else's name. But with that being said, this is the Coach's Challenge. Like the video and subscribe if you like the video. Only if you like the video. Follow us on Twitch. Subscribe if you feel so inclined to do so. It's only $5.99. Or you can, link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch and get a free sub.
Jeff Bezos money.
Remember that. Rate us on any podcasting platform that you're on that accepts ratings, because I don't know if Spotify does. I can't remember. And yeah, we'll catch y'all in the next episode, in episode 16, which we promise will not be a whole half a year from now, because we got the draft coming up.
Yes.
And things of that nature. I'm planning to have a mock draft up sometime soon. Don't hold me to that, because the draft is in 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
something like that.
Shit. I've not been paying attention to the prospects this year, I'll be honest with you with that. But anyway, I want to do something interesting with that, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to think hard about it, and then I want to do something with a draft board up, and then I have everybody's names or everybody's draft board up, or whatever the case may be. But with that being said, we might do it on draft. What's that website? Was it the Draft Express? No,
Draft
that's NBA.
Express or
the Draft Network, NBA, where they have the mock draft game on there, and I might just pull up a screen for I'll open up 3 different links to the same website, and everybody can make their pick as they go along for whatever pick they think whatever team is going to make, so that it gives us a visual marker of who everybody picks, since these are going to be uploaded to YouTube and going to stay up here on the VODs. But with that being said, this is going on for about an hour and so many minutes, so it's definitely time to end this here. This is Darrell with JJ from the Coach's Challenge, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Yes,
Peace.
sir.